I tweeted that I think Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than Mac Jones. I like Mac Jones, but I'm trying to think like Sam Darnold's 23. He still isn't 24. If he were in this draft, where would he slot? Where would he rank? And I think he would rank ahead of Mac on a lot of teams' boards, which got me thinking, what about Rosen? Where does Rosen rank in this draft? He's 24. Where do you think he would slot in this draft if he were in this draft?
I think he'd probably be in that, like, I'm trying to think. And we're looking at him as a pro, right? So, like, if you had this class of guys and you insert the pros already from what we know about them, is that what you're asking? Or are you asking as prospects?
I don't know what I'm asking, really. It's a tough one.
If we're asking as prospects.
Just in terms of traits, really, I guess not knowing what's happened as much in the NFL. Based on their traits,
If we're viewing them as prospects, I think he'd probably be ahead of – oh, man. It's right there. This is a good class. He went, what, 4th in his class?
Yes.
Ahead of Lamar Jackson. But
yes, he went 4th.
I don't know. That's tough. He for sure wouldn't be in the top 4. And I think people would have Mac Jones ahead of him as well. I think Mac Jones would be ahead of him just because Mac Jones' film is so clean. Now, I have my questions with him as well. But as far as like
as a UCLA alumni, my question is, what would Mac look like if he went to my school? Because I know my school.
That's the thing. Yeah. And when you start talking about context, right? I brought it up with Zach Wilson and Drew Lock, right?
Yes.
You know, you look at your situations, no matter what people say, like, and I don't want to knock somebody because the team around them was really good, but at the end of the day, like when you're there and things are ideal for you more times than not, where you drop back and you just have plenty of time because you have like the best offensive line in college football. Right. You have the best weapons where even though you're underthrowing these 40-yard deep balls, you're underthrowing them, but you got Jalen Waddle who jumps out the building and jumps over somebody and catches the pass. Or you have Devontae Smith who you underthrew him on this route, but he jumps over somebody and makes a great play. And I think those are things where, you know, when you start to kind of look like, hey, what's this going to look like when he is pressured more, when he is a little bit more sped up mentally? I think that's where he might run into a little bit of trouble. I've seen him work well in the pocket. I watched him against Michigan last year, and I thought he did good, like against a good pass rush. But even then, like it's you would hope that your weapons are as good as what he has at Alabama, but more times than not, that's not going to be the case. If say he goes to 49ers, I love Debo, I love IU. You know, they are not Waddle, Smith. Right. You know, they're not as good as prospects as that.
Yes.
So he has some terrific guys that build him out, I thought, a lot, and guys that just, I'm just gonna run by guys, and he could trust that and just kind of just throw it up there. When you have to be more accurate, more precise with everything that you do, even with him, with what I've seen, it can get a little sketchy at times. And that's something, you know, you got to take into account that thing. So when you talk about Rosen being at UCLA, Rosen dealt with a lot of that where it wasn't perfect. Like who were his receivers? Like
I went to UCLA and I don't even know. I couldn't even name their names. I have no idea.
Right. So I mean, they may have had a running back real quick. Perkins,
Justin Herbert last year. Justin Herbert, Pac-12 dude, was the 3rd quarterback taken. He was on the worst team of the 3 and ended up having the best rookie year. I think in retrospect, it's like, of course he wasn't going to look as good at Oregon. Who was he throwing to? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The context, I think people, even with like Sam Darnold and him going from a situation where his redshirt freshman year, he was terrific. But it's like, I got Rodgers, who was solid receiver, got Juju, I got Rojo.
Jones.
You know? He had a good offensive line. I think one of his offensive linemen were one of the top picks. Like, and then the next year, and people give him, you know, he happy feet, bad decision. But it's like, well, now all of a sudden everything got kind of sped up on him. You know, the offensive line was trash. It was terrible. Watch him against Ohio State. Had zero chance against Ohio State. You know, his weapons, his best receiver was his name Deontay Burnett.
Oh, yeah. Whoever the hell that was.
That was like his best receiver. So it was like Burnett was like the only guy that he really had to throw the ball to.
True.
He's pressing. He's trying to just figure it out and make plays. And even then, he led them to a winning record. He did all those things. Then he goes to the Jets, where, again, a lot of pressing, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I don't want to make excuses for him, but I think sometimes people look at people that, like, they fail or they become bust or whatever, and they just assume it's because this guy can't play the position. He can't play the quarterback position. And it's like, nah, like if you're drafted into these terrible situations, your chances of becoming successful dramatically decrease. I strongly believe no matter who the 49ers take at 3, I think they'll have some level of success because they're going to a solid situation. with a good offensive minded head coach that can at least help these guys. I mean, he made Nick Mullins look
playmakers.
like a different. Yeah. So, and then you got all the playmakers around you. So, like, I feel like that's an ideal situation. But you could take that same quarterback and put him on maybe Detroit with Dan Campbell as the head coach, and that quarterback looked terrible. You know, so I think we got to start to look at some context a little bit with some of the places that these guys go.
And it's possible, like looking back to 2017, although Mahomes and Watson are so great, but it's possible whichever quarterback got drafted by the Bears was screwed because the Bears are just like, it's like hell for quarterbacks.